Uh, well, hi. I'm gonna explain my presentation about the final evidence. Well, the third evidence. Finally, we're in the end, and in our final evidence, we need to explain four events that changed the world somehow with globalization. That can explain globalization, terrorism, what else? Digital era, and all that stuff, So I personally choose four events that I think that changed the world really, really, really bad. Well, the first one is September, the attacks of the Twin Towers. The other one is the Gulf War. The third one is, surprisingly, the Harry Potter book series. And the number four is the foundation of Google. And now I'm gonna explain why. And a deeper, um, I'm gonna analyze them in a deeper way. Deeper, yeah. Well, first of all, the attack of the Twin Towers. That, well, I think everybody knows what happened that day, the 11th of September of 2001. Um, a terrorist group linked to Al Qaeda attacked the Twin Towers and also another two different buildings in the USA. Um, how this changed the world? For example, the economic was devastated because it was the World Trade Center, and also it is related with terrorism because terrorists attacked the Twin Towers. And what else? And it generated a war. Well, there was a war before the attacks, but it it increased the tension between the countries, and Iraq and all that. That's because the war it created way more tension than before in the World War. Well, the second one, as I mentioned, is the World War. The World War was a war. It was generated because Iraq conquered, tried to conquer Kuwait. Kuwait is famous because it has a lot of oil, and if you control oil, you can control the economy, and if you control the economy, you control the war, and if you control the war, you can control the guns and the weapons. So the World War changed somehow the economy in the world. Um, so it changed the globalization and how it grown up because of that oil of Kuwait. Um, North America wanted to stop the Iraqi force. They also wanted to stop the dictatorship of uh, Saddam Hussein. Sorry, and well, as you can see, many terrorist groups were linked with Saddam Hussein, and also the World War changed the technology in our eras. For example, one of my favorite weapons, kind of an aircraft. Sorry, uh, it's the Reaper drone, and as you can see nowadays, we use drones to record concerts or even transport some packages. So yeah, it changed the world. The other one is the Harry Potter book series, because it revolutionized the idea and how books are sold. For example, sorry, the Harry Potter book series. It's the second most bought book of all times. The number one is the Bible. Well, I think it actually changed. It actually changed. I think it's the third one. But it also changed the economy in the world. Imagine being as almost as important as the Bible in the world. It's really a great change in the economy and also in the creation of the stories in books. For example, it led to a lot of books and book series like Hunger Games, Percy Jackson, all that stuff. Mm. And I think this is one of the most important, that it's the creation of Google. Um, Google is worth billions now. I think if you control and if you have some actions from that company in Wall Street, you're like the king. Uh, and not only that, not only affects the economy, it also affects our technology. For example, in this moment, I'm gonna use YouTube, that it's part of Google, to send you this video. Um, in thanks to that, we can learn a lot of things. We can investigate for you know for your homework, for another investigation. But you can also see, if you're sick, you can find a treatment, a natural treatment. There are a lot of things, and I think Google changed the way we live in our world, and it also changed terrorism, because, well, Google is like the base of every single social media and all the stuff. So, well, I don't know if you heard that, but ISIS, the terrorist group that attacked Paris, they they use the PlayStation network to communicate through each other. So it's kind of, how do we don't know that the terrorist groups use also Google as a method to prepare their attacks. Well, I'm gonna present what is the globalization, all those terms that I speak. So, globalization is the development of an increasing integrated global economy marked especially by free trade, free flow of capital, and the tapping of cheaper foreign labor markets. So, globalization, it's, you can buy a product from maybe England and it's free. Well, not that free because it has taxes, but you can get from other part of the world. And also, not only in economy it affects, it also affects the culture. For example, now that I'm Mexican, I'm speaking English. It's part of the globalization. It's maybe that my grandmother, well, she doesn't know how to speak in English, but it's because we live in the globalization. Terrorism. Well, as the FBI said, there are two types of terrorism: international terrorism and domestic terrorism. Well, there's it's pretty clear the difference between them. Uh, well, the terrorism involves violent acts dangerous to human life that violate federal or state laws, and it also influences the policy of a government by intimidation or coercion to affect to affect the conduct of a government by mass destruction, assassination, or kidnapping. Kidnapping, sorry. Well, as you can see, they attack because they want something to change. For example, now ISIS, they want to. Well, it's also a labor for their god, Allah, and they also want to troops from the outside to leave the country. As you can see, they're pretty stupid, but that's what they want. The other one is the unipolar world. Um, it's, well, unipolar world. It's basically having the only one side to choose, and, well, even if there are some countries that use communism, in this case, capitalism is the unipolar power. Uh, there's not 100% communism or socialism. There's always, America is always gonna win somehow, and that's what shows what is the unipolar war. We if something changed in America, it will change the world. So yeah, that's basically that, the nuclear world. And the digital era, what we are communicating through it, it's a period in human history characterized by the shift from traditional industry that the Industrial Revolution brought to industrialization, to an economy based on information computerization. Digital industry creates a knowledge-based society surrounded by a high-tech global economy. Well, as you can see, digital era, this moment. Thanks to digital era, we can I can upload this video through YouTube, and you can answer me through Blackboard and give me feedback or all that stuff, or maybe learn a new thing, a new word that I don't know in English, or maybe I don't know in Spanish. That's the digital era, and as you can see, it's the transformation from the industrial revolution to an era of information and computers. Why did globalization emerge? Well, globalization emerged because we wanted to communicate with other parts of the world and also get products from those parts, because not every country produces the same, produce all the products that all the countries together produce. So that's why we needed the globalization. The terrorist attacks of the 20th century, there are many theories. One of them is that there are fanatics. There is also a theory that people in terrorists, they want to be released from the control of maybe the unipolar world. So yeah, there are many theories why. Most of them are fanatics as ISIS, but it's really shit, the terrorism. Well, how does the end of the Cold War relate with the unipolar world? Well, it's everything. After the fall of the Ors, yeah, sorry. Well, everything changed, and even Cuba in this moment is trying to change and trying to join the unipolar world, that it was like never separated of the unipolar world, but now there's only one power, that it's capitalism. And by capitalism, I mean the European Union and the United States of America. And finally, I think, how has the digital era influenced society? Well, everything. Now you can go out with your cell phone. It's kind of like a sin without it. You can communicate through it. You can do homework without your computer, or maybe even your phone. And cannot do my homework from this subject without the digital era, and that's why the digital era is so important in the world. Well, as you can see, everything is related in our history, and I would say that our history is kind of like a domino effect, but a little bit slower in some parts of the history. Sometimes it's like a big explosive, but in this moment it's kind of slow. How